Today we're talking about the role of renewable energy in our national security. We're joined this morning by retired Lieutenant General Richard Zillmer to tell us more. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me to be on board.
This is a fascinating topic. So why is the military interested in alternative energy technologies? You know, things like wind and solar.
Simply stated, the interest of the military is to be lighter, faster, more lethal on the modern battlefields. Our legacy of the past is to be tied to heavy industrial-based capabilities that require a lot of logistics support. Finding a way to be lighter, fast in the future is critical to the success of our military.
So what ways are technologies like this being used by the military?
Well, I think in the last 10 years, really since about 2006, 2007, the Department of Defense stood up an office for operational energy, but we're looking at the totality of the requirements to move these massive amounts of fossil fuel, which still operate most of our equipment. It slows us down. It creates significant signatures and targets for the future. So finding ways to use renewables, whether it's solar or wind, or enabling our own bases back here in the States. Our installations here in the United States, in fact, support a lot of the operations we're doing overseas. So if we can find ways to reduce that requirement for fossil fuel, if it's cheaper. Installations in the United States military, about 300,000, require almost $4 billion a year of energy. There's a lot of opportunity costs there. So this is clearly the way of the future, and we need to be leading it.
Yeah, so bringing things back a little bit more local, how do projects like those being built here in Michigan increase our national security and energy independence?
Well, we believe if there's any way that we can reduce our dependence, and we still use a lot of fossil fuel, and we still import a lot of oil every day. We're probably on the order of about 10 million barrels a day that we still import. But if we can reduce that amount that we're importing, if we can find further ways of being efficient, conserving energy, and move gradually towards renewables, it reduces those ties to some of the partners that we have to work with, who some partners are good and some partners are not so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the risks to our country, state, or communities if we refuse to embrace these emerging technologies? Well,
we think if we look at the future and we see how renewables are affecting the future, the future energy demands of the world. If you look at India, China's growing requirements for energy, bringing Africa, 48% of the African people don't have access to energy. They're going to go to the partnerships who provide that electricity and the power. And unfortunately, in the world of renewables, the Chinese are leading the way. Last year, there was about $290 billion invested globally in renewable energies. The Chinese are leading the way. 60% of the solar panels that are being installed in India today are being provided by the Chinese. They plan to build about 20 nuclear plants in India over the next, about 12 nuclear reactors over the next 20 years. They're going to be, built by the Russians. So we think we should be the partner of choice and develop those diplomatic relationships that will be important as allies in the future.
Yeah, that's something we want to be leading in.
We want to be leading the way, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Just a fascinating topic and a lot to think about leading into the future. Well, if you want some more information about this topic, just check out the hot link section on WNEM.com.